In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Well, this is a picture of the old cosmology, with the earth at the center and the 7 planets of the ancient world, which included the sun and the moon, extending out from the earth. First the moon, then Mercury, then Venus, then the sun, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. And beyond Saturn, the fixed stars. And beyond the fixed stars, absolute stillness, which is where God resides. Now, one of the ideas in the ancient world was that the human soul comes from God, passes through the 7 planetary influences to be born on the earth. And then, as life is lived, those planetary influences are manifested in reverse order. So the biblical creation story can be read as a life cycle in 7 stages. The earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God was moving over the face of the waters. When we hear "in the beginning," as modern objective humans, we think, now when was that? Was that thousands of years ago? Was that millions of years ago? Was that billions of years ago? Was that the Big Bang? But the beginning for each of us comes when we are born. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. Light and the awareness of light. And God separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness He called night. Perhaps one of the first distinctions that we make soon after birth is the difference between light and dark, awake and asleep. And there was evening and there was morning, one day. And this is at the level of the moon, whose phases embody light and dark. And God made the vault of the sky and separated the waters under the sky from the waters above the sky. Well, this snowflake was made with kind of an egg-shaped universe in each of the points, with raindrops falling towards the center and clouds rising towards the periphery. But this snowflake can also be looked at as a whole. Imagine that you're back in your infancy, lying in your crib, and your eyes have now gained enough focus that space starts opening up for you. So you look at the center of the snowflake and you see the zenith. And all around the periphery, you see the eyes, eyebrows, and cheeks of all your relatives looking in on you. And there was evening, and there was morning, a second day. And this is at the level of the planet Mercury. So here we see a figure with his arms swinging, opening up space. Now, Mercury, in the Roman pantheon of gods, was the messenger. He took messages from the gods in heaven down to earth and then returned to heaven. So this space that has opened up is precisely his space. Now, I do not for a moment think that the ancient Hebrews who wrote the biblical creation story believed in the Roman gods. But being one of the Mediterranean cultures, there may have been similarities in their archetypal ideas for the planets. And God said, "Let the waters under the sky be gathered together, and let the dry land appear. And let the earth put forth vegetation, plants yielding seed, and fruit trees yielding fruit." So here we see the waters being gathered together in the center, and an open apple, grain, a fruit tree, and all of this symbolizes the fruitful Mother Earth, food and mother. And there was evening, and there was morning, a third day. And this is at the level of the planet Venus. And here, God's creation has a more feminine, nurturing nature. And God said, "Let there be lights in the sky to separate the day from the night, and let them be for signs and seasons, and for days and years." So in each of the points we see the sun with the daylight surrounding it, and in between the night sky with the moon and the stars. And the lights of heaven can symbolize aspirations, ideals. We still have the expression, reaching for the stars. And where there are aspirations, it implies that fulfillment is sometime off in the future. So there's a need for the measurement of time. And there was evening, and there was morning, a fourth day. And this is at the level of the sun, whose brilliance embodies all of the lights of heaven. And remember, this is the fourth day, and the number 4 is suggestive of the 4 cardinal directions: north, south, east, west, and the call out into the world. And God said, "Let the waters bring forth swarms of living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth across the sky." So in the center we see a sea filled with varieties of fish, and in the clouds above, the birds. But isn't this peculiar? A separate day of creation for the fish and the birds? How can that be? Well, again, it goes to the symbolism. The fish are thoughts that are submerged in the sea of the subconscious mind. And the birds are the conscious thoughts, flights of fancy. So this is all about the formation of the mind. So God created the great sea monsters. Oh yes, those scary thoughts that we try to keep hidden, maybe especially from ourselves. God created those too. And this is the first element that is mentioned in the creation of the mind. And God created every living creature that moves, with which the waters swarm, according to their kinds. Well, this isn't so much an illustration of a great variety of fish or thoughts as it is just one being turned over and over in the subconscious mind. Fish in the negative heading towards the center, fish in the positive heading towards the surface. And God created every winged bird according to its kind. Sometimes those subconscious thoughts break the surface of the sea of the subconscious and become conscious thoughts. And here we see clearly a flight of fancy. And what do we do with our flights of fancy? Why, we police them, of course. And off to the side, we see an owl to keep an eye on things. The owl is in the negative. And both the fish and the birds were urged to multiply. So thought begets thought, and the mind expands.